Okay, hello to everyone. Today I'm going to present the work that I have done for this partial test. Um, well, in order to start, I'm going to give a brief description and main aspect of the school that I chose. First, the subject is obviously English. The grade, the next grade I chose is the unit Going Places. The month and date are the actual ones, December 27th, and the school, that's a school that I attended when I was a child, Liceo Vicentano Oriente, here in Rango. Here you have the OA, the learning objective, and also the evaluation indicators that we're going to use to evaluate the, the performance of the students during the activities. Talking about the school description, Liceo Militar Oriente de Rengo is an educational establishment located in Rengo. This is a public high school which has grades from or courses from 7th to 4th grade, talking about high school. This is an educational establishment which has a academic excellence, or here in Chile we say um, excelencia académica, which means that this school has good results regarding standardized tests, such as SIMSE here in Chile. Well, the content, the context in which this establishment is involved is kind of varied, since there are many students in a vulnerable situation that others not. Nonetheless, this school is not categorized as vulnerable. Now, talking about the aspects from the class that I'm going to carry out this assessments. I'm sorry. Um, I think that there is a great variety of students with a different background, like in every class. So the classes must be appropriate for everyone in the class. The students generally participate actively, so the outcome of the class is effective. Now talking about the contents to evaluate. Uh, well, throughout these evaluations, the contents to evaluate will be competencies demonstrated by the students, both in oral and in written way. Mainly, the contents will be related to places to visit on vacation or holidays, their favorite places, among others. Well, now I'm going to talk about a speaking task that I'm going to carry out during these assessments. Well, here you have the guidelines. In the first step, it says that think of a place that you like, or is your favorite one. It can be, or also it can be one that you visited or not. Then make a short research about a place, such as where it is located, the attractions that it may have, um, when it is appropriate to visit because of the weather, for example, and some interesting aspects that the student may add. Then, in the step 3, prepare a presentation and include all the contents learned from previous classes. In this step, students have to try to use catchy images. Finally, when the student is ready, they will have to present to the class. And also, uh, it should be noted that this presentation should last at least 3 minutes. So you have both rubrics. The first one is an analytic rubric, and the second one is analytic. I'm not going to read all the points because that's too much, and we'll have many time. But I'm going to read, for example, the first one of each one. In the holistic one, in the holistic rubric, we have that the presentation addresses all the contents learned using a wide variety of vocabulary learned from the unit. The students do not have problems regarding fluency, coherence, and pronunciation. And finally, the length of the presentation is accurate. In the second case, we have the analytics rubric, which have different aspects such as vocabulary, grammar, fluency, and also length. In the first one, it says that the student have a perfect control of language features and vocabulary during the unit. So, keep going. Now we have the writing task, which is an intensive writing task, and the guidelines are really short. And the first step says read and answer the following activity, then look at the picture and answer the questions appropriately, and also, this is very important, use full response answers. Here we have the example. In the first example, students have to look at the images and answer depending on the images. For example, where is he going? The question says, and the students have to write something like that. She's going to the bus station, and so on. Then we have another activity which says in which students have to answer these questions in a short paragraph. The questions are: did you travel recently? Where? If don't, where would you like to travel and why? Students will have to give some arguments in 100 word minimum. Here you have both rubrics, the holistic and the analytic rubric. As I said before, I'm not going to read all of these points, but in the first one, the holistic, the writing activities addresses all the contents learned using a wide variety of vocabulary learned from the unit. The students uh, does not have problems. The student does not have problems regarding grammar, grammatical structures, and coherence. In the case of the analytic rubric, we have different points such as contents, grammar, coherence, vocabulary, and uh, when talking about the first point, it says that the student demonstrate appropriate use of the contents learned during the unit. Well, now I will have to make a short reflection about the use of rating scales and rubrics when assessing writing and speaking. Well, in my case, I consider that rubrics allow students to evaluate student learning in a qualitative way, assessing student competencies according to the level of learning. On the other hand, rubrics kind of make the evaluation more orderly and clearly for both the teacher and the student. Therefore, rubrics uh, are extremely important and effective for an orderly and a clear evaluation. I mainly use the analytical. I mainly use the analytical rubric as it is my preference. From my point of view, analytical rubrics are kind of more orderly and clear when evaluating a student's performance. In addition, the analytical rubric points to take in has more points to take into account. So it allows me and all the teachers that use data to consider any aspects to take into consideration. This is why I think that the use of rubrics, in this case analytical or holistic, is indispensable when evaluating. Finally, the last point, we have feedback. In the first case, we have after event correction feedback, task speaking, in this case the presentation. This would be the common errors. For example, the first one is a subject agreement. I visit should be I visits, but it should be I visit many cities last year. And also the verb agreement. There is many reasons why it is my favorite, blah blah blah. It should be there is no. There are many reasons why it is my favorite, blah blah blah. Finally, in the case of the writing task, in task 1, we have he going to square, but it should say uh, he is going to the square. In the second case, we have they are go to the zoo, but it just uh, but it should say they are going to the zoo. And in the same case as the task 2, problems with regular verbs, um, also with the subject or with some commas, as in the last one. So I prefer Rango. It should say so, comma, I prefer blah blah blah. And yeah, that's what I created for this Parcial. I hope it is accurate and it is useful for assessing students. Thank you very much for paying attention.